Hello guys, and welcome to my Biomedic channel. So today I will be discussing carbohydrates and classification of carbohydrates. So first of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Zubair Kasser. I am a lecturer in bioinformatics. So today I will talk about carbohydrates and classification of carbohydrates. So let's straight dive into the lecture. So first of all, I would like to discuss about the introduction to carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are the most abundant biomolecules on earth. So as we know that carbohydrates are a very important part of our food. Proteins, lipids, carbohydrates, minerals, water, fiber, all of these things are part of our food. But carbohydrates are also very important, and they are abundant molecules, biomolecules on earth. So let's further talk about this. So each year photosynthesis converts more than 100 billion metric tons of carbon dioxide and H2O into cellulose and other plant products. Certain carbohydrates, sugar and starch, are a dietary staple in most parts of the world, and the oxidation of carbohydrates is the central energy yielding pathway in most non-photosynthetic cells. So basically what it says that carbohydrates are very important and abundant biomolecules and are important energy source for non-photosynthetic cells, non-photosynthetic organisms like we animals, like we human beings. We also belong to kingdom Animalia, so we don't have a photosynthesis mechanism in our body, so we do need carbohydrates for energy, and carbohydrates are considered as central energy molecule. So now let's move forward. Carbohydrate polymers, also called glycans, serve as structural and protective elements in the cell walls of bacteria and plants. Carbohydrates are very complex polymers covalently attached to proteins or lipids, act as signals that determine the intracellular location or metabolic fate of these hybrid molecules called glycoconjugates. So basically glycoconjugates are the molecules which are formed by the combination of carbohydrates and proteins or lipids. So they are also very important. Before moving further, I would like to announce one thing, that you can get free PPT slides of my lecture just by subscribing to my channel and giving thumbs up to my video. So just let me know in my email address that you have just subscribed to my channel and you want the particular slide of a particular lecture. Let's suppose that carbohydrates or enzymes, whatever, whichever video you have watched, you can ask me, and I will be sending you the PPT slide of that particular lecture for free. So that would be a kind of giveaway for all of you. So let's talk more about this. Definition of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketones, are substances that yield such compounds on hydrolysis. Many but not all carbohydrates have the empirical formula CH2O. N. Some also contain nitrogen, phosphorus or sulfur. So this is very basic definition of carbohydrates, in which carbohydrates are composed of polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketones. Now let's talk about the examples of carbohydrates. Starch, glucose, sucrose, fructose, pentose, etc. These are all examples of carbohydrates. So what are the sources for the carbohydrates? Starch, bread, potato, rice, certain vegetables and fruits like mangoes, Now let's talk about the most important part of the carbohydrates, and this is classification of carbohydrates. So there are basically three main classes of carbohydrates on the basis of their size. Number one is monosaccharides, number two is oligosaccharides, and number three is polysaccharides. Now let's talk about each of these three in detail. The first one is monosaccharides. We will be discussing about that. So let's talk about them. There are three major classes of carbohydrates on the basis of size: monosaccharides, oligosaccharides, and polysaccharides. The word saccharoid is derived from the Greek saccharon, meaning sugar. So, monosaccharides. Monosaccharides are simple sugars consist of a single polyhydroxyaldehyde or ketone unit. The most abundant monosaccharide in nature is the 6-carbon sugar, that is D-glucose, sometimes referred to as dextrose. So glucose is also called as dextrose. Monosaccharides of 4 or more carbons tend to have cyclic structure. Now let's talk about oligosaccharides. Oligosaccharides consist of short chains of monosaccharide units or residues joined by characteristic linkages called glycosidic bonds. The most abundant are the disaccharides with 2 monosaccharide units. Typical is sucrose, cane sugar, which consists of the 6 carbon sugars D-glucose and D-fructose. So basically in oligosaccharides, monosaccharides are linked with each other through glycosidic bonds. And the best example for oligosaccharide is disaccharides, which is fructose or sucrose. All common monosaccharides and disaccharides have names ending with the suffix "ose". In cells, most oligosaccharides consisting of 3 or more units do not occur as free entities but are joined to non-sugar molecules, lipids or proteins in glycoconjugates. So basically those carbohydrates which have more subunits of monosaccharides attached to each other, they don't exist in free state. They basically exist in the conjugate state, which we call as glycoconjugates. So now let's talk about the polysaccharides. Basically this lecture is a very basically this lecture is a kind of introduction to carbohydrates. So in my coming lectures you will be so basically this lecture is a kind of introduction to carbohydrates. So in my coming lectures you can know more about the carbohydrates, their structures, their history, you know, the importance and their molecular structure, etc. All of the things. If you want to know, then you can directly subscribe to my channel, and you can take benefit from my lectures. I will be uploading a lot of stuff related to biology and bioinformatics, you know, biology, biochemistry, molecular biology, and cell biology. So I will be teaching you in a modern way because my specialization is in bioinformatics. So I will be teaching you biology in a very modern way. So you must subscribe to my channel. All the students of life sciences and medical institutes and you know, which have interest in biology, that all of you can subscribe to my channel. So let's talk about polysaccharides now. The polysaccharides are sugar polymers containing more than 20 or so monosaccharides units. Some have hundreds or thousands of units. Some polysaccharides, such as cellulose, are linear chains. Others, such as glycogen, are branched. Both glycogen and cellulose consist of recurring units of D-glucose, but they differ in the type of glycosidic linkage and consequently have strikingly different properties and biological roles. So basically in polysaccharides, 20 or more monosaccharide units are attached with each other. Even hundreds and thousands of units, they attach with each other through glycosidic bonds, and they exist in like glycogen and starch form. Like they have very high molecular weight because they have hundreds and thousands of units attached with each other. And but you know, both glycogen and cellulose, both these are polysaccharides, but they differ in biological properties. The reason is that glycogen is found in animals, whereas cellulose is found in plants. So and there is also a difference in the linkage of both of them. Like there is a difference in the linkage of glycosidic bonds both in glycogen and in cellulose. So this is all from today's lecture. Thanks for listening, And if you have gotten value from my video lecture, then consider subscribe to my channel. It will be worth for you. And I will be sharing a lot of and tons of knowledge and concepts related to biology and biological sciences. And I will also be giving, the a kind of career counseling related to biological sciences. So must consider subscribing to my channel, and I will see you in the next video. So till then, it's Zubair Kassar signing off. Thank you. Bye bye.